Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, and welcome in. It's time for Talkin Shop. As always, we bring you the very coolest stuff to find out about what is going to be something you need to go find, whether at your LCS or Kickstartered, or I don't know. We're always trying to get you the new stuff, but I suspect that it might even turn you on to stuff that might be in back issue bins or at thrift markets. Everywhere there is just great reading material that are related to comic books, because that's what we love, right? That's why we're here. Remember, as you come on, you can comment in the comment section. If you ask a question, I will definitely try to get to it during the show. And as always, this is going to be very informative, but not spoilery, unless our guests spoilerize them, which they might do. I like it when they spoilerize things, but today we've got some very special. Oh, squeals! Hope says squeal. We've got very special guests today. They're going to come on in just a minute, but I do want to tell you who they are so you can share with all your friends you think might be interested. Do you like science fiction? You will like this that we're about to start talking about, because this is really cool stuff created by a killer dream team. So Josh Malerman, you would know by his work. I don't know if you watched a little show called Birdbox. Sandy Bullock killed it in that. Or if you know horror extraordinaire Dirk Manning. It's like a dream team, right? How can this go wrong? I'm sure that Dirk brought the horror into this, like what could possibly happen during this, and we'll find out what the topic of this book is, which will blow your mind. Right after this, go share. I love this so much. It's like, I hope this is an actual word that Hope used, parapsychological horror, because I think if not, we're just going to create that genre right now. We'll just hashtag it. That's awesome, Hope. Everyone, welcome to the show. Great friend of mine, Dirk Manning, and his great friend, Josh Malerman.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. All right, so Dirk knows this, but Josh doesn't yet. I like to take some time here at the top of the show just to get to know each other. Cool. So that everybody that's thinking about buying this book, once they get to know you, they will like buy all of your work forever and ever, because now they're besties, right? So everybody knows, like if I had to say, you had to say one thing you knew about Dirk Manning, you would say likes ice cream, right? So,
that's fair.
Josh, if someone were to know something of that magnitude, something that is central to the core of your character,
oh my God,
what would they say?
I'm I pretty much only drink Jack and Cokes, and have since I was about 17. And I love basketball almost as much as I love horror.
that I'm surrounded by so many pets. You can't even imagine it, and I'm sure that they'll show themselves throughout this discussion.
Oh, I love this. Oh, so have you always, like, from when you were a kid, did you always have bunches of pets?
No, it's mostly my fiance Allison brought this into my life.
Okay, so how many pets did she have when you met her?
When I met her, she had 1 cat. Now we have 6 cats, 2 dogs, fish. We feed the deer outside. Allison raised the duck that there was an egg outside that was discarded. She brought it in with an incubator, raised the duck. This is an animal. Oh, here's a cat right here. I knew I couldn't go back.
Didn't you have like some other like wild animal in your backyard too recently, like a coyote or a cabra or something?
Yeah. Well, there's that blue heron, by the way, which is freaking awesome. Oh, there was an amazing moment where Allison was worried about the ducks because she was raising one, and she saw this horrifying thing where she saw a duck be pulled under by a snapping turtle. So Allison asked like a friend if they could help move the snapping turtle out of this pond somehow so the ducks wouldn't get hurt. The guy brings 3 sort of traps for this one turtle, and within an hour, all 3 traps were full of. We're talking a turtle's like this big, right? And then when we're looking in one of the cages, and this is totally me and Allison, we're like, we fell in love with the turtles. So this all led to no. We don't want to mess with what's going on here. We love these turtles. So now they're crazy snapping turtles, ducks, blue herons, fox, everything back there. Yeah.
I knew it was something that had the impression of it being a fierce creature. So that's what it was. And knowing Allison, they're probably alligator snapping turtles. Watch. They're going to become prehistorically big.
And she has rescued a deer that was stuck in a fence across the yard. That's a great, that story is way too long for right now. Suffice to say, she rescued a deer. Yeah.
It's like, so I think Kyle's saying that you're a living Disney animated movie, but no, it sounds like maybe Allison is.
Yeah, it's kind of like Allison, and then I'm like the bumbling side character, you know. I'm like Jafar's parrot or something.
You're in your office writing, what your like 43rd book or whatever it is. Meanwhile, Allison's lugging around an alligator snapping turtle in the backyard.
Yeah, she has like birds like singing, and she is not afraid, man. Dude, real fast. One more Allison animal story. She's from the deep Upper Peninsula, like way deep, like middle of nowhere up there. First time I met her, or that we went up there together, she's Finnish. She shows me her family has a freestanding sauna outside their house, right? Next to it is a wood pile. She lifts the top log, and it's just a bed of snakes. And I was like, oh my God, right? And she goes, oh, look at these copper bellies, and just grabbed a handful and was like, look at them. Like, and they were all like crawling. And I was like, oh, I'd like known her for like 2 weeks.
A handful of snakes, future husband.
She was like, oh no, these don't bite. And they didn't.
It's like, were you instantly in love, or do you have fear of snakes?
Yeah, no, it's funny. No, it's funny you asked that. Like, I am less afraid of spiders, snakes, all these things, than I was before meeting her. I really am. Like, she has opened my mind to like, hey man, they're not going to hurt you, kind of thing, and it is worth.
I guess it is true if it's a general snake that you're not 100% certain if it's venomous or not. It's different than if someone says, oh no, these are harmless, rat snakes.
But a handful though. But me as a horror fan, kind of liked the handful of snakes. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was cool.
And Sarah says, don't forget the rabbits in the yard. Tell us the rabbits.
Oh yeah. There's rabbits. Wow, man, I forgot about those guys. Yeah. I mean, there's everything except for like a bear. Thank God.
Well, you have a bear in your house, to be fair.
Yeah.
We would discuss the bear.
We do have a bear.
PG-13 show.
We do. We have a bear, like a bear suit that Allison made. Wow. Should Allison do this?
Are you guys furries? I think we need Allison on.
Yeah. I think we need to have a show with Allison.
This is so awesome. Oh, okay. So, and then there's another important question in the chat here. Houston Cougs or Florida tonight, and why is it Houston?
Definitely Houston. Definitely. If there's any Florida fans out there, I'm sorry, but I'm rooting for Houston, man. It's cool. I'm a Michigan State guy, and that's where I went.
Mm-hmm.
And they're similar to like how State plays, where it's like grittier, it's like rebounding defense. It's more like, and the end of that Duke game was, God, that was one of the craziest endings I've ever seen of a game. Because it wasn't just a comeback. It was like it wasn't like a flurry of threes. It was like a gradual, incremental comeback, but all within like a minute. It was I loved it.
So funny. I've heard so many people talking about it today and yesterday. It was just like, people don't usually walk into the comic book store and talk about sports. So it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's fun, right? Yeah.
I'll be like, do you watch basketball? Like, no, but I watched the end of that game.
Yeah.
Thank you, YouTube.
All right, so for our friends that are not familiar with what Upper Peninsula means.
Right. Okay. So Michigan is two peninsulas. The Lower Peninsula. Well, I don't know what you can. Anyway, from my angle, it looks sort of like this. And Detroit is right here. That's where I am. And then if you go up the highway, over the Mackinac Bridge, over all the way over here, Wisconsin's like right here.
Yeah.
Allison's from like here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, all the way like there. Yep. The Upper Peninsula. I live in the Lower Peninsula.
Population 7.
It's just Allison's family owns the whole
And the stakes.
Like for Texas, we talk about things like the panhandle and things. I was like, I feel like if you're not from Texas, you might not know what a panhandle is.
Yeah. I've been all over Texas, by the way. Like me, I play in a band, and I have been to many. I love being down there. We played. I can't even go through all the cities we played, because we also played public libraries as a sort of all ages venues show. And so it wasn't just the major cities. We played a lot of smaller cities all over. And we probably played Texas, like realistically 6 years. We probably played 40 times.
It's a huge state.
Yeah.
People still come to town to Houston and say, we're going to come and visit you at the store, because they've flown into the city proper. And I'm like, you won't. They're like, no, really, we really will. I'm like, what you're saying is you're going to drive an hour north to come see me. They're like, oh,
well, Sam Houston. Isn't it called the Sam Houston Freeway or something like that? Right?
Yeah.
Like circle around.
Take a toll road.
Yeah. I remember that.
So, okay, let's talk about music a little bit. Did you start out doing music? Were you like a band kid?
No, it was more like I was like trying to write forever, but my bandmates, even when we were like 10 and 11 years old, well, not all of them, but a few of them had already started playing, and that's obvious now, by the way, which ones started then. And I was just kind of like writing and making like drawings and stuff like that, but they played bass and drums, in bands and everything. And around age 19-year-old logic was, hey, you write, maybe you could, write songs or play in the band too or something like that. And when you're like 18 or 19, you're like, oh, fine, what should I play? So Chad, the bass player, kind of taught me a few chords on an organ. And I had a million poems, and Mark Owen, the other singer, were the two singer-songwriters of the band. Mark had a million poems that he wrote too. And all of a sudden we're like putting them to these dinky chords Chad taught us, and that was it. Like, fell in love, and we've all been a band since then, since we were like, since like 19 or something.
That's so great. So you went to school with all these guys.
Yeah, like I've known all but one. I've known since like I was like 11 years old or something.
What was that, your one connection, or did you guys also like have something else in common, sports or?
Yeah, all of that. I mean, we experienced all of our firsts, first time you ever drank, the first time you ever like left, went on a real trip away from home, the first time, like, we experienced all of our like firsts in life together,
That's so cool. I always think it's a huge plus if you can get friends when you're young and stick with them.
Yeah.
for a long time. Nothing like having good friends that have seen you through all of the highs and lows and all that stuff, right?
I totally agree. There's like I was thinking about this the other day in practice. We had practice like 2 days ago. There's just like a shorthand to everything. Any subject comes up, you can just look at the other guy and you know how you both feel about it. You don't even have to like go in the weeds.
I'm sure everybody else like thinks to themselves, did they actually say words or did they just have a whole conversation with their eyebrows and flaring the nostrils?
That's an unbelievable segue if you want to use it. We don't have to use it, but
no, it's there.
But there is an E.S.P between us all.
There it is. I was like, you can probably see me shaking. I'm like trying not to intercede, but it's right there. Pick it
up. And you guys all probably know Dirk from all of his wonderful work, but this really is a great compilation of talents put together. Dirk loves his horror so much, but he's got a deft hand at writing characters that you can actually care about. They're not just there for page fodder, which of course Josh also does. Man, some rich characters. So
yeah, and that was it too. And that's what's so cool about this was I met Josh. Well, mind you, I met this Josh. We haven't even talked about Joshua Ross, who's the illustrator on this book, who is to Josh's one of his bandmates, one of my oldest collaborators in comics, bringing him into this. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. So there's Joshua Ross, and then there's Josh Malerman. So I first met Josh as a fan of his horror work with Birdbox, and kind of like geeked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to meet this guy just to tell him like that, like his work is amazing, and it blew me away. And so getting to be a fan of Josh's work and then getting to be friends with Josh and now getting to work with him again, it's just been this amazing experience because like he has such a brilliant mind for horror as well. And obviously he's done incredible stuff with Birdbox and Incidents Around the House and Daphne and Unburied Carol, and just this amazing trajectory that he's been on in the prose world of horror and now film. And then me kind of coming in, grinding this out for years, doing what I do in the comic world and getting kind of like this cool peanut butter jelly sandwich or, of horror, taking a story of his and then adapting it into an unpublished story. So it's a story no one's seen before. Right. And then adapting it into a full graphic novel, then getting to pull in Joshua Ross, one of my longest collaborators. We have that E.S.P and how we work together as well. When I was like reading the story that Josh proposed we use for the graphic novel, all I could picture was Joshua Ross. So I got hold of Joshua and I'm like, look, man, I can't tell you what this is yet, but I have a top tier creator in the world of horror that is just doing a graphic novel, and only you can illustrate this book.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. And mind you, he had been really focusing on his tattoo studio, and then he did Left Turns, which is his own work. We had not worked together on something this big in a long time. But I was like, you got to come out of and Josh, you could probably relate to this like a band thing to extent. I'm like, you got to come out of retirement, right? This is the concert. We need you. You're the only one that can make this happen. And Josh, with his credit, he's like, I trust you and I'm ready and let's go. And then it became this just dream team, bringing in Colin Johnson on colors and Dave Lenks on lettering and another friend of the show, Drina Joe, editing the book and then taking it to Source Point. So it's just been to carry forth both the psychic analogy and then the band analogy. It's been this just huge, just conglomeration of energy on this project. And it's just been, I'm so excited it's here. I'm so excited people can now jump in on the Kickstarter and get it. I'm excited that people that back Kickstarter to get it for everybody else. It's gonna be out there in the world. It's been fantastic. It's just been such a team effort and so much positive energy on this.
So Josh, this is kind of an interesting thing. I think maybe I'm correct in thinking this is your first graphic novel work, right?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit, because I'm sure people are thinking this in the chat. Is there a big difference between the way you write for script, way you write for movie script, where you write for novel, short story, comic book. Is there a huge difference across them, or is it very much similar?
Well, for me, so in terms of from the novel to the movie script, I probably have written like 10 scripts, and maybe, and even more than one of them we've like, I don't want to say sold, whatever, it landed somewhere, ended up somewhere, was being worked on. But to me, like the novel has always felt home. The movie script has always felt, just to me, like a little restrictive. It's got to be about this long, and there's a certain formatting to it, and a book like Incidents Around the House, which is actually partly reads like a movie script. There's just no rules at all. There isn't even any quotation marks in that novel. So for me, I really love having that, like anything goes. And in the script, Dirk, who wrote RSVP E.S.P, who wrote the graphic novel, when he showed me the script he wrote based on my story, that's the first time I ever read like a graphic novel script. And it was totally awesome. I was like, first of all, this, like, to think, I got to tell you, like, because this is all new to me, like to think of things in terms of panel, and to think of things in terms of page, and to think of the rhythm. And as Dirk taught me, I think it was called the gutters, the lines between the panels or whatever. I think it's called gutters.
The spaces between the panels.
Yeah, okay. And that, like, I relate more to that than I do to the movie script even. Because there's an innate like rhythm to it that I, and being in a band and writing from like a place of rhythm, like I really, really related to Dirk's script. And you're right, what you said earlier, that it's not just like fodder or whatever. Like right away, I'm like, man, Dirk is like nailing these characters in like a few lines each. It's the script for this book was like a joy to read. It was cool, and it's the first time I ever saw that. First time I've ever seen any of this. So then for Joshua Ross to come on, Colin Johns, and then Dave Lentz to do the lettering, like I literally have seen it like the old encyclopedia where here's the nervous system, here's the muscular system, here's the bones, right? It was like seeing like transparencies, and I'm like, this is freaking amazing. Yeah, it's been. I always have had the full respect for a comic artist, but I have a newfound, like, I've seen the workings of this, and it's freaking cool.
Oh yeah. So Dirk, you've written lots of comic book scripts. So the for anyone that's watching, there's this like whole difference between working conditions for people that are writing scripts and people that are doing the art. Some people are so in tuned that there's very little like description about what needs to be on a page. It's mostly about what's being said and what's the forward motion. And then there's sometimes when you're like just working with someone, you have to be way more detailed to make sure that all of that stuff works. Like for you, Dirk, now working with someone for so long, where are you guys together with how detailed you have to be for a script anymore?
It's interesting because, again, having worked with Joshua Ross for so long, and again, reading Josh's story, literally, like I said, Joshua Ross, and this is no disrespect to any of the other amazing artists I've worked with in my career, only he could pull this stuff off, right? So when I then started writing, once Joshua agreed to do this, I was able to then start writing the script with that psychic connection in my mind, knowing how Joshua would draw it.
That's cool.
So that was a real big part. It was like you in a band, right? It's like, I'm sure you can like, you write a certain song knowing like, maybe I'm not going to sing this, but he's going to sing it. So I'm going to play it that way. Right. So to me, it's like, there's scenes like the spaghetti, like the ribbon scene, right? The ribbon boy, like knowing like, okay, I can do this for him. But then also knowing that Joshua is an artist who oftentimes will then still play with the pacing and the rhythm on the page, and he'll insert extra panels here and there. That's I joke, it's something he picked up as his Mike Mignola stuff, right? He'll sometimes drop stuff in for pacing, and him and I are to the point now that I let Joshua, right? We'll make it work. Then I go back to Dave on the lettering, and we readjust from there and things like that. So working, I was just really fortunate that Joshua agreed to jump in and do this. And then also to Josh's credit, the fact that he trusted me enough to say, okay, sometimes like, what if we do this? What if we do this? Or even talk about like having to cut out certain scenes or condense things because to make the rhythm fit in this style of this medium, right? And this style of storytelling.
Dirk, real fast. I don't mean to interrupt you, Jen.
No, you're good.
But you know what it really reminds me of is like what you're describing right now. Like we just made our last album with this producer, Zach. So now if we go in while Mark and I are writing the next album, we have an innate understanding how these will end up sounding.
Right.
Because we worked with him before. So you sitting down to write a scene, you have an innate understanding how this will look through Joshua Ross. That's cool. Yeah.
And it's fun. And you know this, Josh. Your partner still surprises you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
That works. And then how do we lean into that? Right. Like, oh, this cool scene. Like, how do we lean into this? We've been very stingy about, I would say, the second and third act of this book, because it gets so big and so wild. And I'm going to throw a couple of comic terms out there that comic people will get more than anything else. It gets so Junji Ito. It gets so Akira. It gets so, to use a film analogy, it gets so David Cronenberg, right? And I want people to experience it as they read the story the first time, as opposed to giving away all that stuff. And that's credit to Josh's storytelling too. Like this, it starts creepy, and then it gets explosive, but it's still horror. It's still very much a horror book, but it's so cool. It plays into like the ideas of isolation and what's reality and what's going on, and you're taking this trip. And I'll say one more thing, and I'll shut up about it. Even when Joshua, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, Josh, even when Joshua described Massey, I think you and I first talked, like, what do you kind of picture for this guy, right? Because there was very little description in like the bare bones story that Josh had. So then when Joshua designed him almost like a Welcome Back Kotter type vibe a little bit, you know, you inherently get the idea that this is this innocent guy who is going, you can just relate to almost like a doofus a little bit, right? But he's not a doofus. Rather, he's put in this situation where two Omega level psychic children are at war around him. One wants to show that psychic powers are real. One wants to make sure the scientist doesn't think they're real. And then you got this guy in the middle who's just trying to like salvage the last bastion of his reputation, of his life's purpose, while reality is being rewritten around him.
Yeah, I read the first bits, the parts you sent me.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And I don't know if it's art that does it or if it's what's being said or the panel layout, but I immediately was uncomfortable. I mean, at the front door. Uncomfortable.
I think the coloring, Colin Johnson's coloring was even part of it, right? We talked about the
guys. Yep.
Just it's the Rod Sterling effect, right? The Twilight Zone. You just take reality and you just turn it just a little. And you haven't gotten into the crazy stuff yet, Jen. So
parapsychological horror.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you can see the horror guys here. We're chortling that it made you uncomfortable. That's what we want. Right?
Love it.
To me, I understand body horror and all those kinds of things, but to me, the most scary horror are ones where the mood, tone, writing, everything makes you so drawn in that you start to question whether you're okay, right? That you're like, am I saying it? Am I part of the book?
In the mouth of madness.
So it started automatically wanting to be very mothering to that whole group at the front door and be like, oh no.
Yeah, they're two of the three central characters, Massey and then the two boys. They're young boys. And oh God, there's so much I want to say, and I don't want to say anything, but just it's we're not necessarily talking about a Jason Voorhees type character or the other mommy from Incidents Around the House, you know, like this inherently malicious, evil entity. We're talking about people. And then on top of that, we're talking about kids. And
Dirk, was it hard to get into the head of the kid?
Experience.
Is it hard to write like in the mindset of a kiddo? I mean, like it's very easy in this case to like adult it up when they have like ulterior motives and that kind of stuff. Is it hard to keep it? You're like, oh well, they're also worried about cars, dinosaurs.
I'll volley that one to you, Josh. I mean,
no, you know, for me, no. And it's interesting that you just asked that, because literally earlier today I was talking to my manager about he brought up like of your stories and books so far, which ones feature like kids. Him and I talked about this today, and this one obviously came up. And for me, this is gonna sound like I'm just like It's gonna sound like this is a rehearsed thing to say, but this is real. Is that for me the reason I love horror so much is that there's a certain like cherished Arrested Development to me, where like who's expected to believe in monsters, vampires, this or that, but a kid. Well, for the duration of a movie, a book, a graphic novel, even a painting, I believe it for the duration of the book. And like you were saying a moment ago, the ones that really get me are the ones that I believe it a little bit after the book too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of coming from, I feel like horror has enabled me to sort of Trojan horse childhood into adulthood with me. I've snuck it in with me through horror. And that doesn't mean that horror is just for kids. It means I still believe in this stuff. I can for the duration of the work of art. So then to sit down to write kids, it's a very natural thing for me. I don't do it all the time. I've written like 41 books. I don't even know, maybe 5 or 6 feature kids or something like that. But it is a comfortable place for me to be. It just seems like no, I'm already operating in the same place of wonder that they are.
Josh, was there a book, I guess book works too, or movie or a TV show that was a horror thing that like stuck with you, like you still are affected by it to today?
Oh yeah, I mean the very first horror movie I ever saw was Twilight Zone the movie, and that had John Lithgow on the airplane. That had the kid that can do anything with his mind.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that it's not the same, but there's a line there. That's the first horror movie I ever saw.
I never finished The Crate.
Oh well, now that's no Creep Show. That's
Creep Show. Yeah.
I have a toy of him somewhere in this office. I don't know where it is, but yeah, The Crate. When I was a kid, that Crate screwed me up. Oh my god, that movie is. I kind of want to watch that right now. Actually, I've seen, but yeah, that's the second movie, the second horror movie I ever saw. Saw Twilight Zone the movie. Second one was Creep Show. I think Creep Show 2 might have been like third or fourth. The point is, all 3 of those were anthology.
Right.
And so my immediate introduction to the genre was elastic. Like anything can be a horror story, from the social commentary, the opening segment in Twilight Zone, to the creature feature, the monster on the airplane with John Lithgow, and like anything in between. So from the word go, for me, my like education with horror was elastic. And here we are doing a graphic novel instead of a novel, and that's why not.
I love what Allison's saying. Our childlike facets are ever present. In many people, you could say that they're buried but not dead.
Yes, I totally agree.
Are you a writer, Allison?
Totally agree.
Yeah, well, and two, to that point, it's interesting because Josh, you mentioned that I'd wrestle with that same thing in some of the stuff that I've written in my own stuff, and the kid angle, right? And there's a vulnerability to it. But you can't be cheap about it, right? It's like, oh, there's a dog in the story. What's going to happen? Oh, gee, I wonder. No, but there's a vulnerability here, and the fact that I always say, and I've said this in interviews probably 1,000 times now, my favorite genre is horror because I think horror speaks to the human condition in a lot of ways more than any other, because it answers the question, what would you do if?
Oh, yeah.
That's what horror's all about. To me, that's my approach to horror, but that's my Twilight Zone baby coming in. My introduction to horror was watching the Twilight Zone with my great grandma, the television show. But it's like, what would you do if, right? And what do you do if you start to suspect these two kids you've invited into your home and are Omega level psychics? If they're rewriting your reality, but they're kids, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you spin this? Do you tell your friends about it? Hey, Josh, those two kids that we had here for 2 weeks? They keep like moving my stuff, or But then if they're that powerful, am I really talking to you right now?
Well, there's that great moment, man, that you wrote in the script where I don't remember whose parent right now, but they're like, "Hey,
Matthew,
it's Matthew's parents, right? Yeah. And they're like, we're like, we just want you to know, we think Matthew's like pretty powerful, and they're like, and Matthew's like, I got it covered, and they're like, no, like we're not sure that we're talking to you right now.
Yeah. I think that, to be fair, I think that might have been your line originally.
Was it in this story?
I think it was, but it works.
Well, either way, it's both of ours now.
Yeah. I mean, that just shows like when we talk about the collaborative nature of this process, right? And then the way Joshua illustrates it, I equate Joshua's art so much to like a Dave Gibbons in some ways that it's so straightforward you almost forget that you're looking at a comic page because it's just so there.
That's cool.
But then, like Watchmen, it's just there. But then some kid unravels right in front of you, and you're like, "Oh my God!" It's like, and you realize the power of the media, the power of what he can do. But yeah. I mean, again, it's like, who wrote that line? It doesn't really matter. But yeah,
it doesn't matter.
And even how Josh tells that scene, how the parents have that almost like a plain-faced look to them because they don't want to blow up the fact they're getting rid of their kid to Massey for 2 weeks, right? They're like, we're not even sure we're talking to you right now. See ya! And then they're out. Good luck!
This is just my son making me believe that I'm going to have a little mental vacation from him by dropping him off here at this,
Yeah,
research.
It gets wild, and it's that parapsychological horror, it's that cerebral horror, but then there's other stuff gets tied into it, and again there's kids involved, and there's scientist who's like has so much invested in trying to demonstrate this is real. It cost him his marriage, it cost him his reputation, and it's like, how far down this rabbit hole are you going to go when all of a sudden like the rules are being changed around you and you don't even know what's happening? It's fun.
Does it discuss at all how either the parents found the scientist or the scientist found the kids?
In the original story, it was sort of vaguely he saw. No, I think it maybe describes the videos. Like the parents had posted videos because he's like searching for evidence of ESP in people and whatever. And there were 2 videos, one each for the boys, that suggested like, hey, wait a minute, how did the kid know that was going to happen first, kind of thing. And so then he did like more research into that family, and maybe there was a post that like, Matthew did the strangest thing today, and then he's like, this kid exhibits some sense of ESP, right? And then
that's Matthew. I think the Elliot's the one that the water, the beach.
Yeah. And then so the story does a little bit more of that, but mostly it's like, here's a scientist that is hell-bent on proving the existence of ESP and in encouraging it, and anyone he can find that might have it invites the 2 boys, just thinking that they got a little bit in them, like just enough.
You got the cards.
I do have the cards.
Yeah.
Like, he's like,
all right, hold on.
Yeah, here we go, Jen.
Okay, all right. Okay, hold on. All right, ready?
Don't show me. That's 3 wavy lines.
Oh boy. Now here's the thing: do
I
we
think we
stop
should frame
now?
this.
This is not a setup, y'all.
We should frame this.
Yeah.
Isn't it always 3 wavy lines first? Though,
No,
just to be fair.
No. No.
He just
No.
pulled it out of a drawer. Hey, let's break the fourth wall. Josh, I told you we know our own people, right? This clip will not be on YouTube. Well, it's funny because
that's so funny.
What we're just talking about now, and like what producer Kyle just said, this will be on YouTube forever now. That's one of the things that for the comic we had to kind of like flesh that out. Like, okay, how are we gonna not only tell this, but tell in a way that seamlessly flows into the story, but then show it.
Right.
So we actually show the 2 clips, 1 panel each per kid. And in fact, those pages just got lettered. I don't know if you've seen them yet, Johnny. They just got lettered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Don't jump off. Hold on. We got.
I'll see you later, guys.
Yeah, bye. But just showing like how Massey like discovered these kids on YouTube because the parents were put it online, which again to me was just like a cool little sub thread to develop about how if it's not online, it didn't happen, right? Everyone has to document everything. I ate a really good taco. I need to put it online. Oh, look, I this thing, my hair looks nice. I got to put it online. I'm having breakfast with my friends. I got to put it online. I like the idea of commenting on that too, and how that immersion in the world of social media is what opens up the door for Massey to have this experience he has. But then the kids also get foisted into this experience, one of whom really wants to have it, and one of whom is hell-bent on making sure that it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, you also have this complexity now, especially with AI, that if it exists online, you cannot trust it.
More and more. Right. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, a very telling commentary for our times.
I know.
Snooty and pretentious. This story of 2 psychic children and the scientists working with them is a very telling moral parable of the complex challenges we have at our time. I know, I can't even do a straight face, Josh. I'm sorry. It's just a really cool horror graphic novel. People can check out at Kickstarter right now. You can get a really cool lenticular hardcover that's exclusive on Kickstarter. All kinds of cool stuff. So
did you say, Dirk, that it was like 3 acts?
That's what I'm sorry.
That the story is told in 3 acts. Is that what you had said?
Yeah. I think that's fair. I don't think we specifically broke it up that way, but it very much follows the 3-act structure. When I write a lot on my stuff, I like to write like a 4 or 5-act structure. So doing this is kind of like a 3-act, right? There's 3 big movements throughout the story, if you will, as things escalate.
Josh, do you find yourself like gravitating to any kind of like format in that way?
No, and that's what I mean about like that. The movie script, which was very different. The scripts I've written are very different from what I read from Dirk. That idea, even the discussion in like meetings where they're talking about in the second act. I'm like, second act. I'm like, why can't this be 12 acts? Why does it have to be 3? You know, like with the novel, I don't think that way at all. Zero arc in that way whatsoever.
You're a storyteller.
We've almost been trained for the 3-act, right? Like especially through Marvel movies, you're trained for 3-act.
Well, I mean, it's probably in us. You know what I mean? But I definitely don't. I certainly don't map it out in that way or something. You probably feel that kind of thing, whether you want to or not, right? But yeah,
it's my current theory for why people say that they dislike the Sony, like especially Venom films, because they are 1-act plays, and I think that people don't like them because they think that there's something else that's supposed to be going on, even though the story was fine.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, right. You know what? Sometimes, Jen, I think that the reason that like a lot of like foreign horror is like scarier is because it's that thing we're talking about right now, that either whether it's the 3-act or the rhythm, like the Western like rhythm, they're not following that.
No.
And if you don't know when a scare is coming, like in a Western horror movie, Western horror. You know what I mean? Like if when the night's over, the scary night's over, and daylight comes, we're like, phew, we made it through the night. You know? But then like a Korean horror film might be like, no, yeah. Just because the sun came out, that we're not done. And so, but we are like, oh, we're fine. Oh no, we're not fine, right? And so that's, in a strange way, that's like the whole, like, the greatest fear is of the unknown. Even you can apply that even to storytelling. The rhythm of the storytelling. And I think that's another reason to get rid of something like, when you're writing a novel or whatever, just don't even think in terms of outline, acts, this.
Right.
Just think in terms of, like, you know, let's scare the hell out of them.
Right.
It's like in music when you use minor chords. They're meant to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's funny
I
because
can do it right now.
Yeah. Well, see, and then in this story, I agree, you know, more and more in like Tales of Mystery, for example, which is my longest running graphic novel series. I've got no point now where I can just tell the story I want to tell per book. But with RSVP E.S.P, it was kind of like, okay, we have to have this at about maximum about 120 pages. So immediately there's like this story, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do we break it into? And I think Josh, you and I talked about, it's like, we got to get this between 100 and 120 pages. We can have no more than an average on 5 panels per page, even with a Joshua Ross who sneaks in panels here and there, right? Which means if you're going 100 pages, 5 panels per page, we have to tell this whole story in 500 pictures, right? Or,
That's
right?
Cool.
So, and then in every picture, you can only have so many words, right? Because you just don't want to have like text there. So it was like you take this giant, amazing concept, and then we got to boil it down in like to its essence, and then bake it back up into this art form where it's like you're telling this whole complete story through pictures and images and only a certain amount of words per panel and stuff like that. And it's testament to Josh's story and how good the story was that we could take this story and then boil it down and then literally just bake it into the amazing graphic novel that is now available for pre-order.
We're gonna go through all the Kickstarter stuff, but I do want to address. There's some really great questions that popped up that I don't want them to believe that I'm just ignoring. There you go. If Josh could turn another one of your work into a graphic novel, what would it be? Sarah votes for Daphne.
Well, hello to Sarah. First off, I would love to see Daphne too. That's weird. That's where Dirk and I discussed this. Was at the Daphne theatrical reading, the book launch for Daphne. Yeah. It was in a gymnasium and it was on a basketball court. Dirk walked up to me and was like, "Have you ever considered doing a graphic novel?" And
I shot my shot. I shot my shot. Literally.
Wow.
It was symbolic.
He was on a basketball court, and I was like, "Yeah, man. If you'll do it. If you're in and you're gonna write it, and then we're gonna do this together." And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, then let's do it." I do have some other ones, because I love, that RSVP E.S.P was unpublished. I love that this is it. This is the story. And so there are a few others. The Frauds of Phantasma I could see going this way. I could see Our Town Like No Other could go this way. I could see there's a number of them that I could see that are as of yet unpublished that could be pretty amazing, because it's not just because you can do anything in a graphic novel for, budget be damned, right? You don't have to worry about helicopters and whatever. Because Joshua Ross's Left Turns is slice of life relationship brilliant. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about how crazy can we get, but there is a certain just awesome cinematic, almost more intimately cinematic vibe about the graphic novel than even a film. And I think that there's certain ones that, in this one for sure, obviously, but there's certain ones of mine that I would love to see done in that same balance of intimacy, and we can do whatever we want. It's a graphic novel.
And you're real quick, as you're talking about this in your existing works, I'm thinking Unburied Carol. Yeah, that could be really cool. But then in my mind, of course, goes to Birdbox. I don't know if that would work as a graphic novel.
A lot of just black panels.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that's the point, right? It's like the story the story has to work within the medium.
That is interesting, man. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
That's
I mean, with Birdbox, obviously you never see the creatures. I don't know. I'm going to think about that. I just read the graphic novel adaptation of The Road, and it was really good. But anyway, sorry, I don't want to hijack it. But anyway,
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, sorry. These are the things. These are the things where we're supposed to be on business calls. We end up just getting down these creative wormholes. So I'll just.
All right, and then there was another really cool question that was aimed at you, Dirk. That like you're gonna have to short form answer this because I know it could go on.
Okay,
I would also
I'm
add
gonna
to
keep it
the
a panel.
argument a lot.
I'll keep it on a page. 5
The
panels.
question was, how hard would Mr. Ree wreck John Constantine?
Constantine is very smooth. Mr. Ree is very coarse.
Yeah, it's true.
That's my answer.
She was saying what street would win?
Always bet on the streets, baby.
Always the streets.
Always bet on the streets.
I kind of feel also that John doesn't have nearly enough friends.
Yeah, I mean, Constantine is very. I love when Hellblazer is written well, and when Constantine's written well, he's one of the most compelling characters in comics. He's smooth and he's smart and he is tragic. Mr. Ree is desperate and traumatized to a degree that if you pick that scab, it'll create a gusher. And I don't think Constantine could hang. If Constantine would have to win, it'd have to be real quick because Ree would probably win quicker.
It's kind of weird because they would be on the same side technically.
Well, that'd be a Marvel team up, right? They fight and they're friends, but right.
All right, so tell everybody this is Kickstarter. So tell them all about the cool things that they could expect as being like extra tag-ons if it gets far enough along, because that's what everybody likes is add-ons.
Yeah, well, the add-ons, search goals. I think the shirt we're doing on this is probably one of my favorite shirts I've ever done. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Josh, but I think if you had your way, you'd have this shirt already.
Yeah, I would. I wanted. I even wrote you earlier. I'm like, I want one just to photograph.
I want it now. Like, hold, we got to play by the rules, Johnny Fair play. But no, with the book, the biggest thing that I want to do with this campaign, especially, which I like to do, and is focus on the book. Right, we're offering up front. You can get a Kickstarter exclusive lenticular hardcover. So when you look at like one of the last Kickstarters I just did for Love Stories About Death, if you picture like a book that looks like this, I'm going to reach over here and grab a little prop. It's like it's going to come with a lenticular cover, right? So here you got like the actors, right?
Whoa,
right? It's going to have a cover like this,
wow.
And that's automatic, and that's exclusive to the hardcover. So through the campaign, you can get the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover with a lenticular cover of like normal Massey, and then a hint at what's going on around Massey with crazy ghosts and all this other stuff going on. You can get a digital copy, obviously. You can get a trade paperback version. You can get the T-shirt, hardcover combo. The Give Me Everything gets you the digital, the soft cover, the hardcover. Because a lot of times people like don't want to like mess up their hardcover. That's like their collector edition. Stretch goal wise, we're in round 1 right now. We unlocked the first stretch goal. We're within striking distance within this first week of unlocking the second stretch goal. I'm going to sign all the books, or I'll book plate in all the books. We're on the verge of Joshua Ross signing them all. And then the third round 1 stretch goal, which is where the real action is, Josh Malerman will get to be signing all the books and or the book plates. And then we'll go from there. We have some really cool extra stuff lined up. All I will say is we're pouring everything into the book. We're going to make the book as deluxe as possible, as cool as possible, possibly extra content in the book. So let's just keep ripping through these round 1 stretch goals to get the 3 autographs, and then we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm. Is it hard now, Dirk, to come up with really creative, different things?
It is, and part of me is like, there's certain things I like to do, right? I like offering the Kickstarter exclusive hardcovers. I like, if we can, to move towards like a leather bound version or something like that. I'm a sucker for stuff like that. But like Homestead leather bound was never even an option, right? But I've always wanted to do something lenticular, like the moving picture. And this story,
it's perfect.
Give me the perfect opportunity to do it. And again, playing into Joshua Ross's strengths, right? the image. If you look at the Kickstarter page, you can see the lenticular image that we're doing. So I'm just excited we got to do this and have the lenticular cover. Also, as an inside joke, all the books I've done with Joshua, he's never done the cover illustrations. Then we did London After Midnight together. He got to do half a cover because it's like a half photo and half like a drawing.
Oh yeah.
So now in this book, he gets to do 3 covers because he gets the lenticular, and then he gets the trade paperback cover, which is going to be different as well. So I'm finally paying it forward, making it up to my brother.
Love it. Love that I can be a part of that. That I'm involved at all.
Josh, it's all you. You made this happen. Thank you. Joshua should be sending you a cake.
I agree. Right now.
Yes, immediately. But yeah, so that's really cool. So it's been fun, and Josh and I have talked a lot about this is about the book, right?
Yep.
We just want to trick out the book. I love fancy editions of books. I know you're the same way. We just want to create the coolest version of this book possible for everybody.
All right, we got like a minute left for each of you guys. I want Josh to pitch. What are you doing next? What are people going to be watching from you next?
I have a nonfiction book coming out in September. Don't mistake that as me having done research. It's about a sort of rather profound night that Allison and I had about 12 years ago. That resulted in the night ended, and I said to her the next day I could write an entire novel about last night. The book is called Watching Evil Dead, and it comes out in September.
Okay, that sounds dope. Dirk, what's your next?
London After Midnight's at the printer right now, so that'll be getting delivered. The next book I'm doing after this, Tales of Mystery Volume 6. Ooh. Super excited about that. Continuing that.
It's a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah. That people have been like beating down my door after the cliffhanger at the end of Volume 5. Volume 6 is both the funniest volume and the most darkest, bleakest, most oppressively dark and evil version edition of the book to date. Then after that, the next one will be Frog Sweat, teaming up with Les Garner from Homestead.
Good. Yeah.
And a new book that takes us back to Nightmare World.
Ooh. Well, I just want to thank you guys both. I know that everyone really appreciates you coming and talking about the books, and it looks like it got everyone all ramped up for it. Because like with the title, with just a bunch of individual letters, it's kind of like, okay, I can understand kind of what it's about. But
yeah, for sure.
It's like spent an hour talking about the title.
It makes much more sense now.
Thanks for having us. That, like, as you know, I'm relatively new to all this, and like to be able to discuss this with you, with Dirk, it's like this is cool for me. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks. I always want to thank everyone in the chat for being so interactive. That's super special. We really appreciate that. Thanks for being here on The Experience. And do follow us to find out when we'll have our next really awesome talking shop with amazing guests like these. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time.